What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Stadium Drive, week number 7. Will Ford here with Aaron Sprague, and we've got a big-time rivalry in the IVC. The Indian Valley Braves, the reigning Division IV state champions, taking on the Garaway Pirates, and a rivalry that's always a classic in the IVC. These two teams are near the top of the league every year, and Indian Valley, led by Grady Kinsey, Ohio's leading rusher last year and a finalist for Ohio Mr. Football. This Braves football team on a roll through, midway through the season. Garaway, still the great football team led by Coach Jason Wallach that they always are. And Aaron, it's great to be here in Janeda Hutton.
Yeah, great facility, great atmosphere, great setting, and a great matchup always. I mean, when you talk IVC football, these are two of the teams you talk about it, along with a team like Ridgewood.
Yes.
Always the three teams at the top. Some great football, great tradition, great culture. And just so happens that right now is Indian Valley's time. Mm-hmm. Garaway's had their time, Ridgewood's had their time, and they're still fighting, and we'll see what happens tonight. But, with a state championship last year here in Janeda Hutton with the Braves, and what they're putting together this year is the number 1 ranked team in the state, you got to think they hold the upper hand, and they are certainly the talk of the town and the talk of the league and the talk of the state, really, with some of the guys they got on this team.
Yeah, and for this game last year, it was a classic, 40-35. It came down to the final minute of the game, and Indian Valley took that one. But when you look at the last 10 years of this rivalry, it's an even split, 5-5.
That makes sense.
Indian Valley kind of dominated the first 5 years of that 10-year period, but Garaway had won 4 in a row until last year when Indian Valley won. And like you said, it is Indian Valley's time, and Grady Kinsey has been nothing short of dominant. Last week against Sandy Valley, he only touched the ball 4 times. All 4 of them were touchdowns, and he had 195 rushing yards. He had over 3,000 yards rushing last year, only 1,000 this year, which we say only 1,000.
Yeah.
That's still pretty incredible to do only midway through a football season. But he's just an outstanding player and should be, once again, a finalist for Ohio Mr. Football this year.
Yeah, only 1,000 yards, but he also missed a game.
That's correct.
Because they had a game canceled against Expression Prep. That game did not happen. Mm-hmm. The same team that Garaway played, and that game only lasted a quarter and about a quarter, not even a quarter and a half, because they pretty much tapped out.
It was 9 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah, so that's a team out of West Virginia, and Indian Valley didn't even get to play them because they were so banged up they had no kids. But talking about Grady Kinsey, there's no doubt part of the reason we wanted to be here tonight for the Stadium Drive show is to use any platform we got to try to get this kid Grady Kinsey Mr. Football in Ohio.
Yes.
I mean, personally, I think he's outstanding. He's an unbelievable young man, as you'll hear Coach Lancaster speak about here in a little bit on our interview with him. But obviously a great athlete. What he has going for him is he had a great junior year. They won a state title, so he already has that recognition. He is going D1 with Air Force.
Yep.
And there's no reason why he shouldn't be considered. A lot of times Mr. Football goes to the latest Buckeye recruit.
Right.
Or the biggest signee. Doesn't necessarily mean the best player, but I got to think he's definitely on everyone's radar. And if everything holds true, gosh, I'd love to see him win it. I mean, of course, the quarterback down at Moeller in Division I is going to be certainly considered.
Yeah, Matt Ponatoski won it last year. Yep.
But Grady Kinsey, with what he does, his resume, I mean, he does have a chance to break the all-time state score rushing record.
Yes.
If they can get all the way to the state final and play those extra games, he's going to have a chance to break that record from the young man from Harvest Prep from a couple years ago. Yep. So he's a special athlete. I know personally, I've been around a little while. I've seen a lot of running backs. I was beyond impressed with what I saw out of him last year, the way he runs, the passion he plays with. And luckily for him, and he'll be the first to tell you, that it's aligned with a great line of scrimmage. It wasn't like he was the only player in that class. He was blessed with good classes around him that also have great pieces that help him have that success. And it's been a perfect formula. And, of course, with a veteran coach like Coach Lancaster. So they're obviously the favorites tonight on paper, rightfully so. But the way this matchup goes, Coach Wallach's program over 20 years there in Sugar Creek,
yep,
phenomenal program. And as you'll learn with Will lay out for you, they have a great defense as well. They did take a tough loss to Girard earlier this season on the road. Maybe a little eye-opening, but Girard is a 6-0 team.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very good. But, Garaway still 5-1, and it'd actually be 4-1 because that game against Expression Prep technically doesn't count towards the OHSAA standing. So you can say they're 5-1. But Garaway, like you said, Coach Wallach always puts a great defense out there on the football field, and his challenge tonight is, he struggled with Kinsey last year, although it was a close game. They almost won that game, came down to the final drive. How many people do you put in the box to try to stop him? That's the challenge.
He really is a problem. Even after last year, watching him tear through the playoffs and win that state title, see him playing in that state final game. The question is, who's going to tackle him, and what does it take to tackle him? He's not just a speedy back. He's a power back. He's a shifty back. He has great field vision. He has all the tools. I mean, from a height standpoint, he is not, he's under 6 foot.
Right.
But he has pretty much every other physical attribute, and he is very hard to bring down. So good luck, right? Good luck with whatever that game plan is. I think it's definitely – you can't stop him. You hope to contain him. That's about it.
Absolutely. And Garaway's defense, they return a lot of talent from last year's squad. The talent that they graduated was mostly on the offensive side of the ball with a great running back of their own like Dylan Sunland, who was on the shorter side but a very powerful back. Brady Geibel was a great quarterback that transferred in a couple years ago. He graduates. So they're a bit younger on the offensive side of the ball. Matthew Frey last week against Claymont, 79 yards, 3 touchdowns. They're starting a sophomore at quarterback. But that defense it's really their calling card. It has been for the last 20 years under Coach Wallach. But now their biggest test of the year and maybe all season, it's tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm just excited to be here. Look at the backdrop we have here, man.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's beautiful.
I mean, Will, you think you could climb that hill? I mean, that's almost a freaking mountain.
It'd take me a while.
I mean, that is a massive hill behind us.
I might get there before the game ends.
We should do that for a challenge. Get here a little earlier one year and try to hike that thing. Probably some black bears up there and things we don't want to get involved with. But yeah, great setting, great facility. Football in the East District, football in Northeast Ohio, fantastic. And, of course, we're covering games all over the state tonight. I know back in the MVL, the one we kind of earmarked as maybe the premier game is Sheridan at Philo.
Yeah, that's going to be really good.
A lot of league title implications in that game. I think that's going to be a one-score game, so that's probably the premier game there in the MVL and in that area in Muskingum County. And some other good ones going on, but we'll keep our eye on all of them. Yeah,
in Central Ohio, you've got the state champs going up against Upper Arlington tonight as well.
Yes, Liberty against Upper Arlington, yeah, yep. Big D1 matchup.
Yep, and, of course, Upper Arlington plays Olentangy Orange the following week, so not that we want to, get to Week 8 already, but
that's where Will be next week.
That's where I'm going to be next week. That's going to be just so good to watch. But we want to watch this game first. Let's take a look at Grady Kinsey. And we'll go ahead and play the interview now with Coach Matt Lancaster of the Indian Valley Braves. Grady Kinsey just became Indian Valley's all-time leading rusher, just under 7,000 yards. He's also got the all-time touchdown record as well. So he gives him a lot of praise, an Air Force commit, but he would be the first one to tell you, Grady would, that it's about the guys around him. It's about the offensive line. It's about his quarterback. It's about his defense that supports him and everyone else around him. It's not just him accumulating all these stats. Talks about this matchup with Garaway that's always great in the IVC, and we'll get right to it. Here's Coach Lancaster of the Indian Valley Braves here on Stadium Drive, week number 7, live on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Matt Lancaster, Indian Valley Braves football, the defending Division IV state champions, and appreciate your time as always, Coach. And it's great to have an opportunity to be at your game this Friday against Garaway. And first, I want to talk about your season to this point, and specifically Grady. We know how great he is. He had an outstanding season last year in your run to a state championship, but he just became your all-time leading rusher with nearly 7,000 yards in his career. And last week he had only 4 carries, almost 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. So every time he touched the ball, he scored, which is just unreal. He's got 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns to this point in the season. The numbers are what they are. I could go on and on and on about Grady, but what goes into it? Like, is it him? How much of it is him versus your offensive line versus just your whole offense just working in unison?
Well, I tell you, if you were interviewing Grady Kinsey right now, he would give all the credit to everybody else. He would say it's our line. He would say it's our scheme. He would say it's his fullback. It's his quarterback. It's it's everybody else. And there's something to that, but he is a special player. He's the best running back that I've ever seen in high school. To be honest, the records that you mentioned, Jake Davis's rushing record, he started at tailback for us from I think 2010 to 14, and he had almost 7,000 yards rushing. I never thought those records would be touched. Right. He had 100 rushing touchdowns in his career. Never thought that would be touched. And here Grady is halfway through his senior year, and he has both of those. So he would give credit to everybody else because that's just the kind of kid he is. But you can't deny that he's a special player. He's a special running back. He's got the all the talents with the speed that he has, but also he's hard to tackle. I mean, you ask opposing teams, he does not go down easy. He's pretty relentless. And as many things as I could say to accolade him, on the field, I could talk even longer about the kind of young man he is off the field. The service to our school and our community, the humility that he carries himself with, his dedication to his education and academics, and his faith and just everything. He just does things the right way on and off the field, and he's a special young man and a special football player.
Is it almost like deja vu, like seeing him run versus, compared to Jake, you said back in 2010 to 2014?
No, there's no deja vu there because they're totally different kinds of backs. Jake is senior. Yeah. I think he was a bowling ball of muscle that was, by his senior year, about 230 pounds. Did not have the breakaway speed. As a matter of fact, when he got into the open, he looked to find the safety to go run him over. He never looked to break away. He physically, when he got through the hole, he looked for somebody to go run over. Different kind of back, also difficult to tackle, but totally different style. And our offense is a little bit different style than it was back then too. But I miss seeing the days of Jake Davis running the ball too. But Grady's a different style of back.
For sure. Now, your season to this point, obviously you're undefeated. You did have a game that was canceled, but when you've had conversations with your team and you just keep them motivated every week, which I'm sure it's not hard to keep them motivated, being state champs, but how do you not become complacent? Because you were state champs last year, you ran through everybody, and you've been running through everybody so far to this point this year. How do you maintain that message of not becoming complacent and just thinking, oh, we're the best team, we're better than everybody else? You still got to go out and earn it every single week.
Yeah, well, our kids will never hear that, what you just said, from our coaching staff, and that's been a focus, knowing that's going to be a challenge coming off of last year into this year. That word complacency has probably been, stated in our meeting rooms and out on the field thousands of times, and our focus has been on ourselves and improving every week, improving practice to practice, and for sure improving game to game to game, in the last 2 weeks, facing some teams that are struggling and playing some young guys and dealing with injuries, still our focus was on us. And the film doesn't lie. We judge ourselves based on our own potential. How good of a team can we be? And that's what we judge ourselves on. So we always coach them up and take a look at the film, and our kids have taken it really well, and they take coaching really well. They know we're honest with them. We know that we want them to be the best that they can be. And so keeping that focus on ourselves. But you're right. They've been told how good they are for so long since last year, but we've been telling them how much better they can be. And last year means nothing this year. That's been a big focus for us. It's a whole different group. Yeah, we started a lot of young kids last year that we got back, but we still have a lot of young kids that were, getting their first varsity time this year. So it's 2025 team's a different team than 2024. And starting to schedule off this year, was with two really tough opponents in Greene and then Steubenville. That really threw us into the fire right off the bat. And I think it was really good for us because we learned what kind of team we could be. It showed some things that we needed to fix, and that was important.
Now, your week 4 game against Expression Prep got canceled, and I know that they had a game earlier against Garaway, your opponent this week. That game never finished. They've got a smaller team, injuries and things like that. But what were your thoughts on that game being canceled? You never want to see a game be canceled. You want to play all 10 games in a season, but does it help your team? Does it hurt your team? What were your thoughts, I guess, during that time a couple weeks ago when you didn't end up playing on a Friday night?
Well, honestly, we were looking at in the off season, because we knew we were starting the season with a D2 Greene on the schedule and a D3 powerhouse in Steubenville on the schedule. We were contemplating taking a bye week anyways, because our schedule was going to be so difficult to start the season off. The downside of that is your seniors. You want your seniors to have,
sure.
You want them to have 10 regular season games for sure. And you don't want them to miss out on that opportunity to get out there and compete with their brothers. And, going, 2 weeks span without a game, that's not ideal. But in this case, it's probably better off to have that bye than playing a team. Expression Prep told us they had 13 kids,
Right.
on their team. So we probably got more out of that week, resting up some kids that needed needed to heal up some injuries and some bumps and bruises, and developing depth and competing with ourselves during that week. Competing every day with ourselves in practice on the basics and the fundamentals without having to prepare for one specific opponent. That probably would have been a very quick game. It probably wasn't a bad thing. And honestly, I think you'll see more teams in Ohio, especially with the extended playoffs. I think you'll see more teams going towards a bye, and it's not always a bad thing. And I don't think it was a bad thing for us.
Yeah. Now, last year's game against Garaway, it was a classic, was 40-35. You won that one late, and you mentioned, your team is different this year, but you still bring a lot of kids back, lots of talent, and Garaway graduated, I think, most of their talent last year, and they're still playing really good football with the kids that they've had step up into these new roles. But what does the film say about, your matchup with them? Is there anything schematically or maybe a player on the offensive or defensive side that causes concern for you? What do you see on film with Garaway as you prepare for them this week?
Well, I mean, you didn't mention the kids they do have coming back, and they got a lot of guys on defense back.
They do, for sure.
A lot of guys up front that are back, and we know in high school football the offensive line and defensive line is the key to the game, in most scenarios. But they're always so well coached. So seeing them on film, it's like looking at the same team every year. It's different kids, but they're doing things right. They got athletes in the right places. They what they do, and they adjust every year, and they add new wrinkles to their offense and defense that you got to prepare for. And I'm sure they'll have new wrinkles that we haven't seen, on Friday night. So they just do things right. They don't hurt themselves offensively, and defensively, they're always one of the toughest defenses we play, all season. Their D flies to the football. They got a really good scheme. And so once again, they're a really good team, and we're gonna have to do some things right, obviously, and play really, really well on Friday night.
Yeah, no, you're very right. Defense, they brought, a lot of their guys back. Offensively was where they graduated a lot of their talent, but certainly their defense is outstanding. Their team's outstanding, and Coach Wallach is a great coach, and it's a great rivalry in the IVC. So we're looking forward to watching it this Friday, Coach. Thanks so much for hopping on, talking ball for 10 minutes, man. Congrats on the season, the success of the season so far. Good luck against Garaway and the rest of the way, man, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, you bet. Well, we're looking forward to a good game, here at home on Friday night with a very good football team in Garaway. So thanks for having me on.
Well, we really appreciate Coach Lancaster joining us here on Stadium Drive. It's always great to catch up with the Division IV state champions. Want to give them as much airtime as possible. Even though they're a team we don't film during the year, we film Garaway, but we want to give some love to Grady Kinsey, who is an outstanding football player, one of the best that I've personally ever seen, and I think many people would agree with that. Coach Lancaster has done an amazing job with this program for the last 20 years or so, and it's great to catch up with them. And Grady, has been nothing short of sensational. Last year he was a finalist for Mr. Football Ohio, and he carried the ball 299 times during his 16 games last year, all 16 of those leading to a state championship. 3,278 yards rushing. His longest run was a 97-yard touchdown, 11 yards a carry, 50 touchdowns as well to go along with that. An outstanding season, and he's putting together another great year this year as well. And we'll show you the stats for what he's putting up this year, because it's truly unbelievable stuff. Really, through 5 games, we're in week 7, but Indian Valley's only played 5 games. Their week 4 game against the Expression Prep was canceled. He's carried the ball 79 times, just over 1,000 yards rushing, 13 yards a carry. He's got 15 touchdowns. His longest rush this year is 80 yards, and last week against Sandy Valley, he only touched the ball 4 times in a 56-0 win. 195 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. I mean, it's truly special stuff. It's stuff that you don't see very often. There are only players like this every so often in the state of Ohio and in high school football in general. And, I mentioned he was a finalist for Mr. Football. We'll go through all the players who were finalists for Mr. Football last year. So at the bottom of your screen were the ones that just missed the top 3. Matt Ponatowski won for Archbishop Moeller. He's in the center of your screen there. They made it to the state championship game against Olentangy Liberty last year and lost in Division I. Tavian St. Clair from Bell Fountain on your left was the runner-up. Bodpin Miller, he was 3rd place out of Ontario. Both of those guys, Tavian St. Clair and Bodpin Miller, committed to Ohio State after their illustrious high school football careers. And then the row at the bottom, the guys that just missed the top 3, you have Olentangy Liberty quarterback Andrew Leonard, Mentor quarterback Scotty Fox on your left, Nolan Good, quarterback from Avon, of course Grady Kinsey, who I've been talking about extensively all night long, and then on the far right, Keller Moten from Cuyahoga Walsh. Those were your Mr. Football Ohio finalists last year, and Matt Ponatowski from Moeller took home the 38th Mr. Football Ohio award, but I'm submitting, what if I had a vote, I'm putting mine in right now for Grady Kinsey. I think you could have made a very, very strong case for him last year, being that every other player that was just on that screen just now were quarterbacks, and he was the only running back, putting up 3,200 yards, 50 touchdowns. It's really unreal stuff. But he's not the only weapon on this Indian Valley Braves football team. Their quarterback, Riker Williams, a junior, he rushed for 1,000 yards himself last year. He's not asked to throw the ball too much, and with a running game like this, with 3 returning offensive linemen, why would you throw the football more than 5, 10, max 50, not even 15 times a game, 10 times a game? They run it the rest. Grady Kinsey is impossible to tackle. It's like hitting a brick wall, and that's him running into you, not you running into him. He will run you over. He will outrun you as well. His yards after contact and top-end speed are unmatched, and he's, like Aaron mentioned at the top of the show, he's not the biggest, tallest back, but he is, going on. He's not the biggest, tallest back, but he is a bruiser. He is thick. His quads are massive, and he just doesn't stop churning. And he's an outstanding player. But there are weapons around him. His quarterback, Riker Williams, is outstanding with his legs. The offensive line is unreal. And Coach Lancaster does a great job schematically getting these guys in the right spots to make this running game so effective. That's why no one could stop him last year, and that's why no one's stopping him so far this season. But let's talk about these Garaway Pirates, because it's pretty interesting. They graduated most of their talent from last year's offense. Brady Geibel, who transferred in a couple years ago, played his junior and senior seasons here. They were a part of that team that made it to a Final Four a couple years ago. Last year, they suffered their first regular season home loss in nearly 4 years. Just the consistency is the one word that I can use to describe this Garaway Pirates football team, this football program. They graduate a lot of their offensive talent, but defensively they return almost everybody, and it's really the calling card of their team. But let's take you through a couple key guys for Garaway, really all season long, but especially last week in their win against Claymont. Remember, in Week 5, they lost to Girard 49-7. Girard, a very good, undefeated 6-0 football team. But last week, the Pirates rallied in a big way. Micah Yoder was all over the field, offensively and defensively. 5 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown out of his receiver spot. And defensively, he recovered a fumble and also came down with an interception in their 33-6 win over the Mustangs. Grady Miller, sophomore quarterback, very efficient with the football, 13 of 17, 76% completion percentage, 237 passing yards, and that one passing touchdown went to Micah Yoder. But I think the train that really makes this offense run and really helps sophomore quarterback Grady Miller is running back Matthew Frey. Plays on both sides of the ball. He is tremendous on both sides. Last week against Claymont, 12 carries, 79 yards, 6.5 yards a carry, and excuse the words at the bottom. They won 33-6 against Claymont. That was from a previous graphic. Ignore that. But they won 33-6 over Claymont. 12 carries, 79 yards, 3 touchdowns for Matthew Frey. And he gets it done on both sides of the ball for this team. And Garaway, they didn't make it easy for Indian Valley last year. They lost in a close one, a thriller. Came down to the final drive, 40-35. And we're set up for another good one here tonight. And if you take a look at the last 10 matchups between these two football teams, it's even split at 5-5. So if you look 2015 to 2019, Indian Valley won 4 out of 5, or excuse me, I guess 5 out of 6, and they won, 4 out of 5. I'm correct in reading that. Garaway with the win in 2016, 48-15, but then Garaway won on a run from 2020 to 2023, winning 4 in a row. But Indian Valley got back in the win column in this rivalry last year in that 40-35 nail-biter. So intense rivalry in the IVC. These two teams, along with Ridgewood, near the top of the IVC every single year, and Ridgewood is undefeated this year. So, we're entering this home stretch of the football season, and these three teams, they'll be playing each other over the next couple of weeks and deciding who takes home that IVC crown. It's going to be fantastic to watch here tonight. Looking to see these two run games go at each other, Matthew Frey, Grady Kinsey. And really, the key tonight is, how do you stop Grady Kinsey? It's the age-old question, right? Teams have been asking for the last 2 years. Defensively, I'm not really sure how you do that. I'm not a football coach. I imagine you're stuffing the box and you're getting as many guys, as many hats on Kinsey as possible to try to bring him down, number one, and you just got to tackle. But I think it's more about Garaway's offense tonight. I think they can only win in one of two ways. It's either you keep pace. If Grady Kinsey keeps ripping off these big runs and Indian Valley scores in 4, 5, 6 plays and these drives only take a minute or two off the clock, well then Garaway is going to have to keep pace offensively. Their quarterback is going to have to make some big-time throws. They're going to have to be efficient in the running game, and they're going to have to win a shootout. The other side of it is this. Garaway will have to eat time off the clock offensively whenever they have the ball and really try to shorten this game and make this a 21-20 game. Make this come down to a 2-point conversion at the end, whether it is a shootout or it's a defensive battle where a lot of time comes off the clock. That's the only two ways that I can see Garaway really making this difficult for Indian Valley. They made it difficult last year in a shootout. They're going to have to do the same thing again with less experience on offense, although still very, very talented. But let's take you through our schedule to wrap up the night in East and Northeast Ohio, as well as Central and Western Ohio, our Week 7 schedule with Storied Rivals. And we'll start with East and Northeast Ohio games. So, of course, the game at the top left, Garaway at Indian Valley, the one we're at tonight. I will be providing score updates throughout the night on Twitter/X. Sandy Valley at Ridgewood. Union Local, the Jets are flying high right now. They're at winless Cambridge. John Glenn at Morgan. New Lex is hosting Maysville, and New Lex looking really, really strong right now, undefeated. Maysville played Tri-Valley close through about 2.5 quarters last week. Meadowbrook is on the road at Coshocton. Great matchup that Aaron detailed earlier in the MVL. Top right of your screen, Philo hosting Sheridan. I can see that one going either way, being decided by a touchdown, maybe less. Tri-Valley is on the road at Riverview. West Muskingum looks to rebound after losing at Morgan last week. They're going to be hosting Crooksville. Zanesville on the road at Licking Valley. Worcester is hosting Dover, who only has one win on the year, and Talmadge is at Revere. And then let's go to Central and Western Ohio. We'll start on the left. Once again, Centerville, is hosting Miamisburg. I almost mashed those two school names together. Dublin Jerome on the road at Hilliard Darby. Olentangy Orange hosting Dublin Kaufman. Scioto at St. Charles. Grandview Heights suffered their first loss last week against Lyndon McKinley. They'll look to right the ship and get healthy, taking on this Worthington Christian football team. Granville at Licking Heights, they lost a nail-biter to Watkins last week. That was a tremendous game to be at. Trailed in that game 14-0, took the lead 28-21 before falling 35-28. Right side of your screen, Hamilton Township hosting Circleville. Hilliard-Davidson at Hilliard-Bradley. Jonathan Alder hosting Urbana. Olentangy and Marysville will go to battle. New Albany, the Eagles, are hosting Gahanna. Division I state champs, Olentangy Liberty, riding their ship. They're taking on undefeated Upper Arlington. They dropped 50 last week. And then the bottom of your screen, Westerville Central hosting Grove City. So that's our schedule in not only central western Ohio, but north northeast Ohio. Before I get out of here, I want to give a shout out to our friends at maxeffortmuscle.com. Best tasting protein in the game. I've tried, being a younger guy, I work out, go to the gym and everything. I've tried tons of different protein powders. There are some I like, but you're not going to find much better than this right here. The Max Effort Muscle Protein is out of this world, and they've got great supplements to pair along with it. Great merch, and the guys at Max Effort Muscle are entertaining as well. So follow Corey G Fitness and the guys at maxeffortmuscle.com, and we appreciate their support each and every football season. And make sure you're following us on all the socials tonight, Facebook, X, and YouTube, to get score updates not only from this game here, Indian Valley Garaway, but other games in our coverage area throughout the night. So make sure you're following us. But let's get ready to do some battle here in Janeda Hutton with Indian Valley and finalist for Mr. Football Ohio, Grady Kinsey last year. Grady Kinsey and the Braves hosting the Garaway Pirates here in the IVC as we enter the back half, kind of the home stretch of this regular season. And playoff seeding at stake, league titles. It's great stuff, and we're excited to be a part of it. I'll catch you guys in Week 8 for Stadium Drive.